All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple show. I am here with our host, Dr. Bart Precourt, who has been a healthcare practitioner for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, acupuncture, kinesiology, functional nutrition and supplementation, and lab testing, all out of his clinic, Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida, as well as virtually all around the world. So he's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a cutting edge health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to take their health to the next level. He's worked with celebrities and athletes all around the world, and is going to kick us off with his clinical insight of the week.
Yes, and so I'm going to have two clinical insights. So the first one I want to talk about is young girl who just came off the pill. And really the clinical insight here is don't give up on yourself too early. I'm reverse engineering this now. So I'll give you a little backdrop to that story. So I have a young girl who came off the pill, and ever since she came off the pill, the bottom has dropped out, Karen. Everything that you can think about that symptomatically wrong with hormone imbalances, gut issues, you name it. Remember we talked, I think it was just last week, about how birth control is one of the biggest disruptor of microbiome. So everything in these last 3 or 4 months has hit rock bottom. And in doing so, they're running all over the place. So when you're having depression, you're having anxiety, all of it. And this is all real stuff. And I really feel for this girl and many of the young women that are out there that go through this, because where do you go when all of these things are going on? You show up at your doctor's office or any doctor's office, because you feel literally like dying. You have depression, you have bad thoughts going on, you have urinary tract infections going on because your microbiome is off. All these I'm talking about are all happening simultaneously. Somehow, some way they show up in my office. And I'm able to see it from the big picture, but the individual in this state, very difficult for them to see it because so much is going on. And for anyone out there that's listening to this, if you've been in pain, you've had things going on with your health, when you're not feeling good, it's very, very difficult to see through the muck. And that's where your surrounding folks, the people that care and love for you, your team, your tribe is so important to have one. Hopefully you have one, or that you can lean on, or that can be your doctors for that matter. So in this scenario, it's a little bit of both. And even though I am crystal clear from this end, what we have to do, we have to work on multiple systems, Karen. We have to replenish the microbiome. Not easy, very doable, but not easy. It takes some discipline. And when you're uncomfortable, especially when it comes to emotional things like eating, kind of hard. We have to restore hormone balance. Remember, when you go on birth control, once you go on birth control, your hypothalamus is hijacked. That is the mother of your hormones. And then when you come back off birth control, you're left kind of without a captain. So that's real. So we got to balance out the hormones. Microbiome, I mentioned, anxiety and depression, or those are really descriptions of emotions that we have, but they become triggers and very fretful. So anyways, this doesn't have a good ending yet. I know it will, because this too will pass. Yeah. The reason I'm bringing this up as my clinical insight is that we kind of had a plan, a strategy, which took more than one consult. Right. And now, mind you, this is an individual who wants a quick fix. There's no quick fix here. So we had a
probably, how long was she on the contraceptive pill for?
Not super long. Super long. This was probably under 2 years. But I say that's not long. That's a long time. That's a long time to have your hormones hijacked.
When I came off the pill, it took me a long time to rebalance, but I was on it 12 years.
Right. And everyone's going to be different in these scenarios. So this is just 3 months after being on it. So this is the clinical insight part of it. So in this short period of time, there was not a magic wand. So then immediately, because everything wasn't fixed, and I understand it. So there's not I don't take it personal as a provider, runs out to another doctor and says, what's wrong with me? I'm still not better. And as providers, I think often many of us have been doing this long enough. We hear that, and we also are thinking to ourselves, man, good chance that other, guy or girl, that doctor was doing the damn bestest they could.
Oh yeah.
in that when people are uncomfortable and they don't get a quick fix, the doctor often gets blamed. And I know this to be true. But either way, we did circle back. And in the meantime, though, still hasn't done anything. And that is really the clinical insight. To have the mindfulness of, listen, we have to give our body time, space, and energy. And this is about energy. Reality is for hormones to heal, for the body to heal, for the microbiome to heal, it takes energy. If all our energy is going outward into chasing things down and to taking more lab tests, go more doctors, someone's got to know the one thing. Very difficult to heal. So I think this is just more of an aha moment or just a share with everyone out there. Remember, at the end of the day, you break your arm, you have hormone imbalances, you have diabetes, no matter what it is, what heals your body is energy. And if you're using that energy somewhere else, you can't use it to heal. So that's clinical insight number one. And number two is really about, I'm a little bit more broad. I'm talking about a specific situation about weight loss programs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yes,
weight loss programs. Okay, so
yeah,
man, there's a lot of them out there, and so I'm doing a consult just the other day with one of my current clients / friend, and she brings her mom to me. And her mom's on this program, and the daughter wants me to talk to her about this program, which I have no idea about this program. And I'm not going to say the name tonight. I'm just going to leave it out. I'm going to talk about all programs. And she's on this program where it literally she'll get these they're almost like reward packets. They get to fuel themselves every couple hours during the course of the day. And each packet might have exactly 100 calories of.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm like, I don't really know what to say here, whatever. Well, I do know what to say. So I hear it all. And the good news is it was over 5 or 6 months. She lost 20 pounds.
Okay.
So to that, I salute. Say, listen, anytime we do any program that allows our body to get off 20 pounds of unneeded toxic waste, there's a benefit to that. Agreed, no doubt about it. And at the same time, we still have to, the ultimate goal, the only time you know that you are on a good eating regimen, you're a healthy eater, is when you're eating from God's garden. If you're still on a diet plan, it's still not healthy eating. At some point, it needs to become intuitive. It needs to be natural. Eating should not be well planned out. It should just become part of our nature of things like eating and sleeping and pooping. Those all should be relatively natural. Now, it does take a plan to get back to that state because there's so many obstacles, processed foods and commercials and chemicals and drugs and all this stuff. So my conversation with this lady was that, hey, listen, awesome. You've lost 20 some odd pounds. Phenomenal, headed in the right direction. And part of the reasons all of those programs work. So everyone hear me out here. The reason they all work, every single one of them cuts out the crap, cuts out the white stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So
the processed foods or sugar. There's no donut diet.
Yes. So that includes a vegan diet, vegetarian diet, keto program, paleo, all of the above. Well, cut out the crap. That's the commonality, that they're eating from God's garden. Some have a little different versions here. Some have meat, some have less, some have more. It's all eating from God's garden. Any program you do that cuts out the crap, you'll be in a better place.
Yes.
So if you're wondering what's the simplest or what's one of the, things that I should do, because I got the question, part of what prompted tonight's conversation was multiple times this last couple. So it's getting sunny around here. And we live at the beach and people are thinking, I'm going to be in my bathing suit soon. So I get a version of, Doc, how do I get, what's the fastest thing I can do to get in, the bathing suit ready or to beach ready? So that's where things are kind of driven tonight. And of course, then the answer is always going to be, if you really want the simple answer, get rid of the white stuff, get rid of the white bread, pasta, the crackers, the muffins, and all that kind of stuff. So one clinical insight, don't give up on yourself. Make sure that you are giving your body energy to heal. We'll talk a little about this in just a moment because I want to talk about metabolism. And then of course, all those meal plans out there, you still got to get to God's garden. Eating out of a packet 4 or 6 times a day, even if it makes you lose weight, at some point you got to scratch your head and go, I wonder if this is a good human thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think
and a long-term sustainable thing to do. You don't want to put it back on. I mean, how many of these weight loss programs, it just seems like a lot of people put it back on.
That's in a nutshell. literally, Karen, that's it in a nutshell, because those are not sustainable. And that's why I say the ultimate diet plan has to be a habit of just eating from God's garden and being intuitive enough to know what serves you best and when to reel it back a little bit and when to rev it up a little bit. And maybe tonight's insight, because I want to dive into just a moment here about metabolism.
Okay, so what is metabolism even? We use the word, what is it?
Yeah, so metabolism is actually the process that cells use in your body to produce and use energy to keep the host alive. That's it.
Okay.
So let's break that down. There's a couple other ways we can say it, but it's a biochemical reaction that your body has to produce energy to keep other cells, to keep and maintain life force. So literally, we are burning up energy, using energy to sustain something. Because the challenge is we often think of metabolism as ability to gain or lose weight. So metabolism technically, Karen, includes a lot of things. It includes digestion, of course, right? But it also includes the ability to heal from a cut as part of your metabolism.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it includes ability to think, to have clear thought, to be creative. Those are all part of your metabolism, to use energy to sustain life, to kind of create, more out of this human body. So everything is metabolism. So being healthy is a metabolic activity. So when we flip that over and if we're thinking about how the body works, it takes in nutrients so it can then produce energy so it can heal a cut. It takes in nutrients, produce energy so it can grow a bone for a little kid. It can maybe grow some more hair for a 52-year-old guy.
Some of us. Yeah.
Some of us, yes. So what we take in is going to determine how well that motor works. But if we have systems that break down, we have a beat up liver, we lost our gallbladder, or if we have body parts that are taken out, all of these things are going to affect our metabolic body. So metabolism in a nutshell is the systems of your body that help keep you alive. And the better the systems work, the better your body, a healthy body, will move forward. And a healthy body is able to then lose weight.
Okay, so then, that was my next question. How does metabolism, so if it's how your body's processing, what does that have to do with weight loss? Why do we talk about it so often when it comes to weight loss?
We talk about it because we think the metabolism is the burning of food, which to some degree it is. Yeah. Here's one of the challenges though. And this will get into some of the reasons that we, beyond food, that we don't lose weight. So if we take in food that does not have nutrients, essentially we're overfed, undernourished. This is the classic example. If we bring in empty calories, breads, pastas, crackers, all the above, that don't have any nutrients in them, we have too many calories. So we have empty nutrients. We can't produce any energy. We're not doing anything with those calories. We're not doing anything. So we're not able to help the cells rebuild, regrow, heal up, break down, whatever they need to be. We're not able to help those because the right thing's not coming in our body. We've notoriously thought that a fast metabolism makes me skinny.
Yeah. What is the difference between a fast and slow metabolism? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, but it's not something that we inherently have.
Okay.
And we'll touch slightly on that topic as well when we get into our different reasons for beyond food that people might not lose weight. Yeah.
Because there are people with different body shapes, right? That are more predispositions to being slim compared to maybe a little.
Sure, we have
stockier or curvier structure. Or.
Yes, even all those are true. Yet that isn't necessarily, it's not in our metabolism that's making those. Those are our genes. Those are literally how we're made up.
Yeah.
Let's talk slow fast. So a super healthy body, let's just say you have a really good microbiome. That system works good. Yeah. So therefore you're going to have a faster metabolic process. If you put food into your body and it's a good nutrient, your body will be able to use that. So now you have energy. And now you can do whatever you want with that energy. You can go exercise more and make bigger muscles if you want. You can go be creative. You can go work more. You can go hang out with your spouse more, go do some cool things. A slower metabolism, on the other hand, would be someone whose systems aren't working good.
Okay.
Maybe their microbiome cannot absorb nutrients and bring them into the bloodstream and feed the body. So for example, someone, you exercise really hard, but you can't get any muscle growth. That's part of the metabolic process, simply because you're not taking the nutrients in. They can't absorb well because the microbiome is shot, and therefore you don't get the amino acids into your muscle. So that's part of the metabolism. And there are things that speed it up, slow it down. So we've always heard that muscle burns more fat.
Yeah.
To some degree, it's true. Muscles require energy.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of muscle on your body, you will then use a lot of energy. You will use a lot of fuel sources. Okay. And that's where the strategies come in. So you can either bring in fuel and use that fuel, or you can not bring in fuel and scavenge around the body and figure out what you could use for fuel.
Okay.
Hence the ketogenic diet, using fat for fuel, intermittent fasting. That's when we scavenge around the body. We go, well, wait a minute, there's no fuel coming in. I have all these muscles and I want to go use them. I need fuel because you're using them whether I give you fuel or not. And your body goes scavenges these fat cells, converts them into a fuel source called a ketone, and then you get to have energy. And then the cycle just keeps on going and going and going. But again, that process applies, same thing for healing a cut. When you heal, so for example, let's take a diabetic. This is a real example. So don't get mad at me for talking about this. We see a lot of diabetic ulcers, right?
Yeah.
Ulcers in the leg.
And they can, yeah.
What is that really happening there?
Yeah,
The inability
they don't heal and
it's an inability to heal. That's the metabolic process. When no nutrients, poor nutrients, farthest from the heart. So it's hard to get the energy source there. And because the microbiome is usually beat at that point, and most significantly because you have insulin resistance, you're storing all your nutrients, you're not actually utilizing them. We then have breakdown. So that's metabolism. That's metabolism in a nutshell. That is, so the best way to say it, when someone says, metabolism always been slow. No, you may have systems that are not working well. And as a result of those systems not working good, that could be the excuse. But these others might fill in those blanks better. So someone might say, for example, I have so much inflammation, I can't lose weight. That would be accurate, which we'll dive into now. So because that is one of them. So let's hopefully that creates clarity, not confusion. And because we're not blessed with our metabolisms, we're blessed with our genes, but our metabolisms are certainly up to us. What you do with the body, what happens to the systems, organs, and glands of your body. For example, we talked about going on the pill. You hijack your system, you hijack your endocrine system. You're going to alter it. So in this situation, that young girl gained 25 pounds too. Add that to the mix of all the stuff.
On the pill or off the pill?
Off the pill. Came off the pill. Remember, your hijacked hypothalamus gland. It doesn't know how to regulate weight, appetite, emotions, heat, all of the above. Yes. All right. So let's dive in.
So there are 8 things that we're going to talk about that aren't food that can be issues when people are wanting to lose weight.
Yeah, we'll call them our.
Can cause weight loss resistance. Really, can be stopping you from losing weight, even though you're eating some good stuff.
Yeah, that's it precisely. So there are no doubt there's plenty of people out there right now that know that they have a diet better than average. And these are the kind of things that myself and a lot of other functional medicine practitioners that we see on a regular basis. But we see both, but we see a lot of people, you know what, I'm eating good. 90% of the time I'm putting real food in God's garden type stuff in my body. How come I can't lose an ounce? Why am I not healing from this particular thing? And let's go through some of these, because as I say that these are weight loss issues beyond food, there are also health issues that are beyond food. So they're kind of falling in. Remember, really, weight loss is a byproduct of being healthier. It really is. And I think most of the people listening to this today understand that. All right, so let's dive in. Number one. So I don't know that there's a true order to these, but I kind of put them in my order. And I think these are just for me clinically making observations that some of the things that I see on a regular basis of the things when people have limitations, they have challenges with weight loss. And again, we don't have to be a skinnier society. We have to be a healthier society. Yeah.
When we're talking about weight loss, I mean, everyone will have, as you said, with their genes, will have a different size. You don't have to be super skinny. It's just being healthy.
Correct. Correct. And and owning that whole process and being okay with wherever we're at. So just like you said, some people are bigger, some people are smaller. There's like, that's us. That's and getting really comfortable with what we've been given and what we can do with it. That's also important as well. All right. Number one, Karen, inflammation. This is a beyond food issue. Okay. Assuming you get all your foods right, you can still have a lot of inflammation. We talk a lot about the impact that food has on our body, especially with inflammation. We talk about gluten, oftentimes talk about dairy, but this time I want to talk about other things that are outside of that, things like bacteria, fungus, mold, things like viruses.
Mold. People often don't know they've got like a mold issue, but that can be the thing that's really stopping them losing weight. Yeah, and making them feel bad. I mean, that's probably a whole show.
Yeah. Yes. Mold's a beast out there. So here's what happens. And I think just coming off of COVID, people, a little light bulb will go on for some people and they'll go, whoa, got it. So a lot of people gained weight through these last 2 years.
Yeah.
For some obvious reasons, you're stuck inside, you're bored. So you just eat. And that's what I do. When I'm bored, I often do eat. So, but there's another reason. When we have stress, and especially when we're battling something like a virus, your body produces things called cytokines. Cytokines shut down your insulin response, meaning you have more insulin resistance.
Okay.
Insulin, when we have more resistance, you produce more insulin to try to get the job done. Hence, you store more fat, period. Same amount of food, same exact food, but you get hit with a virus, produces a cytokine storm. For some people, it was an immediate weight loss. And we joke, well, that was a good weight loss program. And then afterwards, boom, it shot up through the roof. So many people lost weight during the virus. That 2, 3, 4 weeks went by afterwards and gained the weight back plus.
Yeah.
And that happened because of the inflammation in the body, the cytokine storms. Now, there's a lot of different ways that we can have these cytokine storms. So inflammation, to me, is probably right up there at number one. And these are ones that we can run labs to take a peek at. Okay. So because I mentioned insulin resistance, it's always one of the ones. If you're in your doctor, again, I'm looking at labs today, and they run all this stuff and they run just a little bit of everything, but not the whole panel of anything. Yeah. And that only works if there's nothing suspicious on your lab work, nothing. But the moment a little bit of a cholesterol, the moment a little bit of your thyroid panel is off a little bit, you need the whole panel in order to, create good strategies for it. Yet down the road, I think especially, and I know here in our country, every one of us should have our fasting insulin levels checked, and also our insulin resistance. And knowing what that number is could really help create the strategy next, because you can have a perfect diet, insulin resistance be off, or your fasting insulin levels be high, and you're not going to lose weight. And you will be one of those people that walks by a plate of food and gain weight.
Yeah. Wow. And fasting insulin is a separate test from the fasting glucose number they do.
Correct. So there's literally a fasting insulin. So let's go back there. There's a fasting insulin, and they'll give you a marker, and that marker, they'll say anywhere between like 3 and 20 should be normal. Okay. Ideally, let's just call it 0 to 7, 2 to 7 should be where functionally you want your fasting insulin to be. Labs just today or yesterday, I had my age person, middle-aged, and they were in the 50s or 60s, but no other signs or symptoms of diabetes. So their hemoglobin A1C was not off, but somewhere along. And then what that means, Karen, was this individual, they did all the things. They did a lot of the things and got good results with them, and then stopped short of knowing this marker, knowing that they had to keep going because they had high insulin levels and insulin resistance. So we had to go that. Now knowing that, that's where we then create strategy. Okay, you were close to the goal line, but you fell short. And now we just got to continue certain strategies to move you forward, because a lot of other things are going really good. So those are a little bit different markers, but same time, very, very easy for any doctor out there to click a little box for fasting insulin and insulin resistance.
Yeah.
And
okay.
relatively
so we can get these markers and know whether they're actually a problem for us.
Correct. And honestly, they're those two. If you have insulin resistance for a high fasting insulin level, you're going to have very difficult time losing any kind of weight because your body's responding a little bit different. You have insulin resistance, and we want to move toward insulin sensitivity, meaning if we have a little insulin that's released in the body's very, very efficient with it. That insulin goes out, grabs just the amount that we need, puts it into the cells accordingly in a very good, efficient, manner, and then we can move on and have plenty of energy without stored fat.
Yeah. Okay. And there are things that we can do if we do know this marker.
Yeah, that's when we can be really strategic. And again, depending on the individual, types of intermittent fasting, then we can determine longevity, certain herbs that we use. If you have insulin resistance, we're talking about using things. I use something called metabolic complex. We're going to do some liver work. We're going to make sure we're going to rule out fatty liver disease, and there's always a possibility of that. So we just take some simple strategies, and it's the type of thing that, the practitioners like myself, the other functional men and women doctors out there, that's what we're doing every day. And every individual will be a little bit different, yet at the same time, 100% a fixable situation if we know the data.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So inflammation is the first one. We've got 8. What's the next one?
Yeah, we got to get cruising, right? Next one, nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yes, I can't emphasize this enough. Listen, our soils are toast, our bad. We've been eating, we have overfed under nutrients. That's really what it is. We have more empty calories in our diets than ever. And even some of the good nutrients, things that we're putting into our body, we think they're really good because of the poor soil, because of the over farming in our country, because of constantly being, exposed to bad things. We have nutrient deficiencies. And that's where, again, strategizing and understanding the fundamental needs, like if you have a thyroid issue, like what does your thyroid need for? I have this conversation just about every day. I see a lot of females in my office. A lot of them have thyroid or subthyroid function. Iodine. If I ask any woman out there, so where are you getting your iodine? They look at me, they don't know how important iodine is for their 100%, body. Yeah. They don't know that it's the number one nutrient for their breast, the number one nutrient for their thyroid, number one nutrient for their ovary. And they'll probably have at least one, if not 3 issues right there. And if I ask them, so where do you get iodine? They don't know. And say, well, seafood. Yeah, some little bit. How often are you eating seafood? Once or twice a week at best. Absolute best. Yes. Yeah. The reality is probably every other week people are eating fish or some kind of seafood. Yeah. And most likely you got to substitute, you got to take some kind of, iodine supplement. And that's just one of many, many examples, Karen, that I could give us. If you drink alcohol, you're going to magnesium deficient. I think right now they're saying 70 to 80% of our population is magnesium deficient. Oh. Well, it makes sense. Sugar depletes it, alcohol depletes it, stress depletes it, soil.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And even if we are, we're not drinking and we're, as you said, with the soil, we're eating, some good things from God's garden, potentially we've still got some nutrient deficiencies.
Yeah. And that's where, again, strategizing and making sure that you're aware of some of the primary things that most people are deficient in, even B vitamins. Again, we talked about this last week on the gut healing show, or I guess a couple of weeks back, where your gut could naturally make B vitamins, but if the microbiome was beat up, no, it's not happening. And so there's a lot of deficiencies that are inherently happening just because we've been here for many decades.
And do you get people to take, what about multivitamins? Do you like multivitamins? Are they?
I love whole food vitamins.
Okay.
The majority of the idea of one big fat white pill giving us everything that we need for human function, a little facetious. Yeah. And I think it was purposely done, right? That's the magic pill, isn't it? Like, just take this and you're good to go. And I think people have caught up to that. I feel like people are starting to scratch their head a little bit. And really, can I get that much? That thing's rock hard. I can put it on the counter and it doesn't ever seem to change and it could be there for a couple of years. So I use whole food multivitamins. In fact, there's one that we use called Catalin, Karen. Kind of interesting, fun story. Catalin is designed to be a catalyst for all your micronutrients. So you get all your trace minerals and your minerals. So it's your multivitamin. And what's really neat about it, it was one of the first, if not the first, supplement in our country back in 1929.
Wow, really?
Designed to be the one thing you would need to fulfill all the foundations of the things that we're missing out on. Maybe you lived in a part of the country that didn't have a certain amount of foods, or maybe you're going through the winter and you lose out on certain nutrients. That was kind of the idea and the concept, and not really paying attention to how bad farming really got in our country. Yet there's something called catalin, yet it's not one. They're roughly, you take about 6 a day, and there's little brown pills, and you could chew them. And you would taste the different foods in there. You taste the liver that's in there. You taste, because B vitamins are best sources of liver. So you taste different things like that. But nutrient deficiencies, overfed, undernourished is no doubt number 2. And that can happen, Karen, even with a good diet.
Yeah. And especially if you can't, or you're not eating, well, even if you are eating organic foods, but like if you're eating your vegetables and things, but they're not organic. You might be, eating good things, but they're not grass-fed meats. Like you just, you could be eating the right things, but the quality isn't up there.
Yeah. And the quality is so important, because empty calories, really, it tells your body to eat more.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I don't know if you had it in your country, there was this commercial years ago, and I forget, it's a potato chip brand. And I know what it is. They said you can't just eat one Lay's.
Oh,
do you guys have Lay's potato chips?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're brilliant. They basically said, we have
Well,
manipulated.
it's true.
It is. But they're brilliant scientists who make these foods. So they understand. So I'll give you an example of nutrient deficiency. So salt, sea salt is phenomenal. It's a bunch of different minerals, like a Himalayan sea salt, Celtic sea salt. They'll have close to 90 plus different minerals in sea salt, which is fascinating. That's just a great source for us to get lots of good minerals. Well, when they use table salt, sodium chloride, there's just one, really 2, sodium and chloride. That's it. So that natural element of salt, sea salt, now is stripped down, and there's only 2. The human body doesn't understand this. It thinks when it gets salt, sodium, it's coming with 90 other minerals. So when you eat just one potato chip that's loaded with this sodium chloride, never mind the fact that it's a processed potato that then converts into sugar quickly, but just for that salt purpose, sodium chloride, you get it into your belly, and it says, "Oh, thank you, here we come." On your tongue has a receptor. Salt is coming, everyone. Party time. We're going to get electrolytes. We're going to get all these things that are so good for and healthy for human bodies. And then it gets down into the body. The body goes, "Whoa, wait a minute. There's only sodium and chloride here. Send me more." Send you a signal saying, "I'm still hungry. I didn't get my nutrients." Yeah. And this is the brilliance of the scientists, of the food manufacturers.
And they are brilliant. There are millions of dollars that goes into the more than one, the need more, that like, I mean, yeah.
Of course, they're in the food selling business, not necessarily the nutrient business. So again, so they're doing a good job.
They do an amazing job. I can't stop at one. I don't know about you.
All right, so let's keep kicking here.
All right, what's number 3?
Microbiome dysfunction.
Okay.
Dysbiosis in the gut. This is huge too, Karen. And again, we talked about this. If you guys haven't watched that show, pull up out, Karen. I don't know if you know what show number that was, but we talked about the 4, how to restore your gut, 4 phases of it. So important, microbiome. So many things beat up the microbiome. I want to give another little clinical insight here. Or just a little aha for you guys to understand. So how does our microbiome get beat up? So the microbiome is responsible for, when you eat food, it breaks it down, absorbs it, and simulates. I mean, it brings it up into the body, sends it into the bloodstream as nutrients. So your body can utilize those, send them off to the cells, and your body kicks it into the Krebs cycle. You make energy, it heals the body, makes the body feel good. So literally, food can be thy medicine, can be. If your microbiome is beat up, and how does it get beat up? Number 1 of that list is antibiotics. Hands down. Right side by side, we talked about this last week, glyphosate, all the pesticides and herbicides, and then we throw some stress in there, throw some drugs, like birth control. Our microbiome takes a beating, and that microbiome is critical for the absorption of nutrients. So you can have a wonderful diet. You've really adopted the God's Garden type plan. Maybe you're doing intermittent fasting, you're dialing it in. You haven't necessarily restored your microbiome. And I'll give you an example of how beat up it gets. When I talk about antibiotics, it's really interesting because so often people kind of dismiss it. Well, I had to. It still doesn't mean that your microbiome understood you. Like, it still got its butt kicked. So there's one out there called Cipro. In Cipro, a lot of people that have been down this road before know Cipro is a beast.
It's an antibiotic?
It's an antibiotic, yes.
Okay.
That antibiotic is very, very, very powerful. And I think it's within 3 hours, it wipes out 60. And I forget. I read this paper. I read a kind of a recap of this paper years ago, that Cipro wipes out 60 to 90% of your microbiome within 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So think about that.
I'm sure you're on it for like 5 days or
5 days, 10 days.
Oh.
I'm working with a particular case right now, and I get it, because it can be a little frustrating if you're the receiver of that. In your mind, you had to go on it. Okay. But it still doesn't dismiss the damage that's being done to the human body. This individual's been now having loose stool / diarrhea for 7 months. So restoring the microbiome when you've restoring it after it's been destroyed is not the simplest thing. Yet, again, it's doable. Sometimes it just takes a little trial and error. So microbiome dysfunction, I think that is a huge one. Again, this isn't like a guaranteed order, but inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, huge, because the body can't work right if you don't have the right nutrients. Then microbiome dysfunction. Number 4, I don't know if everyone's gonna really believe that I put this high on a list.
It's I think it's a good one. Let's what is it?
This is your social network. I believe that your social
average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right?
I truly believe that your social network plays a huge influence on weight loss beyond food. So let's just we don't have to talk too much about this. It goes like this. You're going to meet up with your friends, and your friends say, hey, why don't you meet me down the way and let's meet up at the pub, and then after that we'll go for a bite to eat. You will go hang out with your friends. You will go to the pub, and at the pub, you usually drink beer or something like that, right? And then you go out to eat, and you don't always make the greatest food choices. Maybe it's some pizza, whatever it may be. If that is who you hang out with and what you do, awesome, sweet. Yet it'll probably have a massive influence on your ability to lose weight. On the other hand, if you call up your friends and your friends call you and say, hey, listen, let's go to do a yoga class, and after yoga class, we'll go get a green juice.
Yeah.
That's your social network.
Completely different impact on your life. Yeah.
And I'm just using those 2 examples because I see them every day. And so that social influence goes beyond that. That'll go into the work atmosphere. And that's a huge one. So the things that we look at, our social network, we look at our work atmosphere, and then our personal family atmosphere. And as a practitioner, and all the other practitioners listening to this, you hear the same excuses I did. Well, it was a special event. And then they had it was a work party. We did this. We all went out to work, or I was, whining and dining clients. And then they have to do it in that certain fashion. Or then, when it comes to the family, it was mom's cooking. But that social influence will play a huge role on your weight gain or weight loss. That's beyond food. It's just that social influence. So I put that pretty high up there, because if those are we are kind of who we hang out with, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually.
Even if we think we're influenced.
Yes.
Or even it just makes it easier. Like if every time you hang out with your friends, you have to be the only one that's not drinking the beer and having the pizza, it gets tiring, right? You're much more likely to keep it up if you are around people that are not doing that.
One of the things I feel so blessed in my life about is that the environment that I'm around on a regular basis, yoga studio, an organic cafe, and it's by design, quite frankly. We've always been crystal clear about our mission statements and things that my wife and I, we've talked about, like what kind of clientele do we try to attract into our businesses? And it's not a wrong or right, yet being clear on it, it makes it clear on what like our next moves are. Yeah. And then, and we always, we've had people joke and be like, yeah, I'd love to come over. Obviously, I'm not bringing you wine. Like people bring like house gifts and stuff like that. They'll say, I'm not going to bring you a bottle of wine. Obviously, what can I bring you or something like that? So your social network is important. I'm not telling anyone to get rid of their friends, yet maybe you start to influence your friends and hang out in different environments. One of the reasons I love being down here at the beach, because there's a lot of things to do other than just meeting at a bar. I love the idea that people go to the Orange Theory or go to their yoga studio or go to CrossFit. They meet there. Then afterwards they go out, they're working so hard. Then they go out for lunch or juice. Like that, to me, like that's an awesome environment for people.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. So that was 4, 5. What's number 5?
Liver toxicity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
And Karen,
yeah.
this is pretty broad. And when we look at labs, because we can look at your labs and we can do a liver profile. The challenge is by the time you see things on your liver profile, your enzymes, we're downstream. To see fatty liver, by the time it even hints on your lab work, things like your ALT and AST and alkaline phosphatase and bilirubin direct, all of these guys that indicate something's going on with your liver downstream. So liver toxicity, again, this can happen. Environmental toxins. This is where, we really have to pay attention to the outside world and influences. So again, a little clinical insight. One of the situations, one of my patients that I'm working with right now, she had her hair dyed. She's been having her hair dyed forever. And this time she had this real bad rash breakout. Happened 24 hours afterwards. So I have to consider there's some correlation, right? So it might not be causation, but it's these correlated. And then shortly after that, her lymph swelled up and then she got styes in her eye and like multiples, and which is very uncomfortable. And if not careful, they can get infected and they can be kind of, problematic. So environmental toxins, things we don't think about, they're cumulative. That's why I bring up the hair dye. They're cumulative, they're cumulative, they're cumulative. That's where someone says, well, I never had a food allergy to blank. That's a liver issue. That's a liver not keeping up with your environment. And that's where all of a sudden, I've eaten this type of food all my life and now I can't do it anymore. Well, that food has had glyphosate and you've been eating for 10 years and now it's finally caught up to you. So to learn how to kind of fall back in love with our liver, and I've talked about it in Chinese medicine, we always say that you live by the way of your liver. So the better you treat your liver, the better off you're going to be. And it's so simple, quite frankly. If you just want to, I said, we're not going to talk about food, but if you wanted to talk about food like cruciferous veggies, awesome. There's other things here too. We have an emotional influence on the stagnation of liver qi. So when we hold our emotions, when we have fear, when we have worry.
That beep, I think it's me, isn't it? Or is it you?
Yeah, that's me. Yep, that's
Is it a fire alarm?
Yeah, I think my wife is trying to cook something downstairs. So we'll just pretend that that's not happening.
Yeah, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, that was my house.
Kelly, I'm sure it's going to be delicious.
Yeah, that was my house setting off an alarm of an environmental toxin right there. Yeah. So the nice thing is that these are easy. So fear, worry, and concern really stagnate the liver. So, and I say that again, we just got done talking about like social networks. So having a tribe, having people in your life, or having even a therapist for that matter, you can get stuff out of your body. So important. So important. Yeah. We always feel good when we speak our truth, even no matter what it causes. If you finally, when you do that. So I know this is it almost seems like a side topic, but when it comes to the liver, I will tell you what, there are very specific instructions when I do Chinese I'm doing acupuncture and I'm doing liver work. And I know that even though we haven't had the conversation about holding in fear, worry, and concern, I know it's there. You practice long enough, these things. And I give some subtleties of saying, all right, today, I just want you to let go, let everything out today. If it wants out, let it go. If you feel like the liver wants to release, let it happen. And just give enough subtle leads for the mind there. And it's fascinating to what happens with the emotions and how well that person, they like float off the table when they're done by just allowing the energy to release out of the liver. So, the liver's chemicals, pesticides, but milk thistle, things like that. We hear, so milk thistle is a phenomenal herb. Take 1 or 2 a day. That's how simple.
Should we all take 1 or 2 a day, or
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to just say, well, if you drink every day, take milk thistle. Now, every one of us.
Okay. Yeah, because we're exposed to so many things.
Just came across an umbilical cord study, an umbilical cord where a baby's on the other end of that thing, over 287 chemicals.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's like the average now. So everywhere. Just massive amounts of chemicals everywhere. So we'd be fools not to think that, and remember, everything goes to the liver. So that's where something like milk thistle, the beauty of it, it does help detox, and it also helps repair. So it can actually help restore the liver, which is one of the beauties about the liver. It's very restorative. Okay,
awesome. All right, so that's liver toxicity 6. What have we got?
Mitochondrial issues. So sometimes these aren't as understandable, yet the mitochondria is really the powerhouse of the human body. And so that's really going to also determine our longevity. So our mitochondria, these amazing little things inside our cells, is our fuel source. They are our energy source. And over time, as we break down the human body through all the things we discussed, through stress and poor exercise and inflammation and toxins and livers and viruses and bacteria, all of these things that break down our mitochondria, that's the aging process. And some of us, our mitochondria have been beat down beyond our years. How do we beat down our mitochondria beyond our years? Maybe we've smoked for a long time. Maybe we've been working with chemicals for a long period of time. I have some hairdressers that work with chemicals on a regular basis.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think hairdressers, but they must work with so many chemicals every day.
Yeah. The other odd place is the golf courses.
Oh, the
golf
high doses of pesticides, right? Glyphosate on the
massive. So golf courses and nail salons are considered the 2 most toxic places out there.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of, there's a lot of that's a good example where we think, I have a good diet, I'm outside. Yeah. You're breathing in all of these different things that are super, super, toxic to the human body. So the mitochondria gets beat down over time. And here's the beauty of this though. And if the mitochondria is slowed down, it's literally the aging process. Yeah, your metabolic body, your ability to heal, your ability to regenerate is going to be slowed down. But when we start to apply all these different things we've talked about, the different nutrients, intermittent fasting, all of these, leveling up strategies, we actually can reverse the aging process.
Yeah.
So when you hear people talking about reversing aging, it's measurable now. You can do a genetic test, to telomere test, and there's some others now too, that literally give you kind of this chronological age of your body relative to your biological age. So let's say I'm 52, but my telomeres may tell me I'm either younger or older. And then I can apply strategies for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, retest and see which way I'm going. I could be getting younger or older, which is pretty cool. So, I do those things a lot in my concierge program. We do that next level of testing because those individuals, they want to know, like, literally, Dr. Bart, how am I going to get younger next year? So to live forever and have energy and vitality forever. So those are some of the things that we can do which science now affords us to test some of those genes per se when it comes to the mitochondria. And that mitochondrial health, all those things we talk about, the infrared sauna, the cold tanks, all of those things are helping repair them. So you wouldn't really think of maybe a sauna, or maybe you would, or a cold plunge as being part of a weight loss or weight gain strategies, but they can be. They can be part of healing up the body so the metabolic system works better. So mitochondria dysfunction, mitochondria, beat down, I guess you want to call it, years and years of putting crap into our bodies. And that crap, listen, maybe you don't drink, maybe you don't smoke, but maybe you just take birth control. Maybe all you do is take an aspirin a day. Right? That simple little sucker that breaks down the hydrochloric acid in your gut, and you no longer can absorb things like zinc and iron and vitamin C and magnesium.
Yeah, and so many people think it's a health thing to do. I'm going to take an aspirin a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all kind of fall into these categories of sometimes there's these subtleties that we're just unaware of that can be happening, especially, like that, like an aspirin a day. How many people in our country are on aspirin? And no doubt there's benefits because we have these other habits that are not good. So they're thinning our blood so other things don't happen. Yet at what cost?
Yeah.
And what if
you question here? Can you get toxic from taking too many vitamins?
So it's a good question. If you're taking synthetic supplements, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And because, so I'll just give you an example, like a lot of the B vitamins out there, they come from coal tar.
Really?
Yeah. It's a good extract of vitamin, especially B4, I think it is. So they can extract, as long as the molecular structure is the same, they can extract it from whatever they want. I'm trying to think. I think it's the 1-a-day multivitamin, either that or it's Centrum, that is made by Pfizer.
Yay.
Yeah. So let's think this through for a moment. Do you really think Pfizer's goal is to make people healthier? They're not in the business of health.
Definitely. Yeah. That's definitely doesn't sound like a good financial goal for them.
Yeah. So, and they're made synthetically. So there's nothing live. There's no plant. There's no vegetable. There's no nutrient in there. They're synthetic supplements that if we put enough of them in the body, yes, it can create some toxicity. And that is also why when there are some doctors out there that say, absolutely not, you shouldn't be taking supplements.
Yeah.
And I understand why they say that, because they've read the papers where they've done the clinical research, and they'll put people on these synthetic supplements.
Yeah.
I'll follow them over time and say, man, some of their values get worse.
Yeah.
The amount of B vitamins in the body get worse. Their C vitamins go down. Their magnesium goes down. The electrolytes go down. And they're not wrong, but the premise is false.
Yeah.
Meaning that they're not putting the right nutrients in their body. When you talk about whole food supplements, I don't think there's a toxicity level that you'll have. You might have some really expensive poop. Yet I don't know that there'll be a toxicity level as long as you're still within reason. Yeah. Right. So I think we can create toxic. I can eat too many chicken wings.
Yeah. I mean, if you had the whole bottle of anything, it's not, you might have it might not serve you.
Yeah. You know what? It's kind of funny or not funny. I have more than one time in my career received a phone call that says, Dr. Bart, this is urgent. Please call me back right away. My dog ate my entire bottle of, and they'll say Catalin. That was the most recent one. And Catalin is our multivitamin. And there's 360 tablets.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, do I grab the bottle? I already know the answer. I said, grab the bottle. Let's go through the nutrients. And I'll say bovine liver, bovine adrenal gland, asparagus. And we go through them.
I'm guessing the dog was fine.
Yeah, dog was fine.
Might have had diarrhea or something.
Yeah, I mean, expensive poop. Probably not even. Probably bound up. Probably had one of the best poops in his life.
Awesome. With vitamins, the question continues, if you feel better, is that a sign that your vitamins are working? And if you feel worse after you're taking it, do you know that they're not good for you? Is that going to be enough?
I think I would need more specifics to that. So when we create nutrient balance, we shouldn't have this effect of wow, I took some vitamin B today, all of a sudden I feel amazing. We really shouldn't have that feel. Over time, we should gradually notice I'm doing better.
Yeah. I'm
doing better. And, I respond better. I have a little more energy. I don't necessarily need 8+ hours. I can do 740. You have more efficient metabolic system.
Yeah.
You put the right nutrients in, you speed up your metabolism so you can get the jobs done better. Now, when we get to herbs are a little bit different. So sometimes people think vitamins and herbs are the same. There's minerals, there's vitamins, and then there's herbs. And herbs have a little bit more of a medicinal effect. And that's where we pay a little more closer attention. That's where I usually do recommend that you're probably working with someone that's very familiar with using herbs medicinally, using them therapeutically. Can you take too much of, an ashwagandha? You probably could. Could you take too much kava? Enough to make it just loopy? You probably could. So use your herbs, again, relative to taking any single medication out there. I don't care which one is, it's still safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think to answer that question, if you're feeling better, does that mean a good thing? Well, ideally, we always want to be moving in the right direction. Yeah. The only thing I would say is sometimes people say, well, I took that and I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
That's okay. As you're restoring nutrients, electrolytes to the human body, your normal is supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
That's normal. You were supposed to feel good. And if you're feeling good, then good. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't give up on what you're doing.
Awesome. All right. Love it. Let's do number 7.
All right. Number 7 is kind of I put these in order, but this really isn't order. This is just a no-brainer. And this is stress.
Yeah,
This really should be number one, Karen.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, things beyond.
Only that I think it's super common, right? And we don't realize that it has an effect. So what are we talking about?
Stress. So let's talk about on the biology or the science of this. When we're under stress, Karen, what's really fascinating is that when we're under stress, especially in a kind of prolonged stress, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And it helps us in that fight or flight situation. So we create narrow, high, super alert, and in the short phase can actually reduce inflammation, short phase. If we're always under stress, we're under a prolonged stress, or worry, concern, fears, all of those, what a lot of people were for 2 years, right? So if we're under prolonged periods of stress, you constantly are producing this cortisol. It has kind of the reverse effect. We're producing lots of cortisol. What's very fascinating is that in science now, we've recognized that when you release cortisol, it signals your fat cells to collect. So those receptors want to then draw in food as if their insulin is directly planting it into them, which it really is. So cortisol has an effect on insulin, the increased production of insulin. So when you eat under stress, most likely you're gaining weight. And what's fascinating there or interesting is that it could be good food. It could be right from God's garden. And eating under duress. So what does that really look like? So most people think that stress just means I'm having a relationship issue. I'm talking about eating in your car. I'm talking about sitting there with your friend, but you're both talking so fast, no one's listening, and you're eating at the same time. You're on your phone, getting emotionally, on a yo-yo roller coaster, watching, thumbing through Facebook while you're eating.
Eating at your desk while working.
Yeah, eating and typing, unconscious eating. So we were talking briefly before the show started about, I know when we grew up, family dinner time was unnegotiable.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
unnegotiable.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Only opportunity you had 6 o'clock every night. So it was not like it changed every night. It was 6 p.m. every single night. The only time that you had an excuse not to be there is when we were engaged in one of our sports. And then afterwards, your meal was sitting there. You were going to come home and you were still going to sit down at that dinner
table. At the table to eat it,
at
right?
At the table to eat it, yes. That is when I subtly ask my clientele, and I've been doing this for years, how many of them have a set dinner time? And I'm going to say that's under 10%. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy. And there's every excuse, and I get it. And the world is busier place than it was back when I was a child. I know there's still people that do it, but when I see that number, I'm like, wow, what a bummer, because we didn't have phones too. We didn't have the TVs on. It would be shut down. The lights in the kitchen went off and we were at the dinner table. Yeah. And, and you had to be present with each other. And then the meal was entirely different.
Yeah.
Stress it literally tells your fat cells to hold.
Yeah.
So what can we do about it? We can take a couple of deep breaths. And then take those breaths so we can get that really slow exhale. And the first couple you're going to do, your exhale is going to be really fast. And choose not to eat until you can exhale slowly. That by itself, metabolically, big difference. You shift from sympathetic state to parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest.
Yeah.
So metabolically, you shift how your body is going to respond to, especially when you're eating your food.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, even just when we talked about exercise, I mean, for me, doing things like yoga, actually, just if we're just talking about what helps me lose weight the fastest, it's literally those types of things, because I need things that help me just relax more. Not that I feel necessarily negatively stressed. I've just got a lot on the go, and it's stress on the body, right? Even if you've got stuff on the go. And so I just always know, for me, for weight loss, like this was, when I discovered that, I just had never thought about it. I was so focused on food. I was one of those teenagers that grew up so focused on food. And actually this stress piece for me has such a big impact on my ability to lose weight.
Yeah. And I think what's great about you mentioning that is that for each one of us, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
And when you can figure that out, and that's really what I wanted to share with this tonight, you might go, wow, man, I've never been right since I took that antibiotic, 3 years ago. I've got everything else dialed in. Yeah. Or no doubt, I'm eating good, but I'm always eating on the run. it could be any of these things. Oh, you know what? I'm not exercising anymore. I don't have any more muscle. I got to put some muscle back in my body so I can burn some stuff up, right? So, who knows? Maybe it's, inflammation. Maybe you are constantly inflamed. Maybe you're constantly exposed. Maybe you're a painter and you're always working with paint. I painted last weekend and I had all these chemicals and I was like, I don't like this. So, all right, last but not least, and I just want—
What's number 8? Yeah.
And I didn't want to, and it could be genes. Literally our genetic profile. So all I'm going to say is this: listen, some people have kind of a predisposition to, especially when it comes to carbohydrate metabolism, that they can't metabolize carbohydrates. So they go out, buy a piece of bread and they gain weight, period. So sometimes it does go down to our genes, but I put that at the very, very last because I didn't want to ignore it. But it's
also possible. Those people can be aware and not eat as many carbohydrates. Like, sucks, but some people can eat more carbohydrates than others. It doesn't mean that you're going to be overweight, right? It just means you need to change strategy.
Yes. And not just blame it on our genes, because all of these other 7 things, plus our good diets and stress and metabolism and understanding the whole picture, there's so many things that we can do leading up to just saying this is our genes. So that's the list right there. That's the kind of 8: inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, microbiome dysfunction, your social network, no doubt, liver toxicity, beat down mitochondria, stress, which really means, and someone's going to say, why weren't hormones here? I just lumped hormones in that category of stress.
Okay. Yeah.
Stress influencing hormones, creating highs and lows and all that good stuff. And then of course, genes. So if you want to know, are there issues out there beyond food that could be inhibiting weight loss goals? Sure. And that also means not just beyond weight, or not just weight loss goals, but really health goals.
Yeah, love it. I think it's good to raise awareness on some of the things we get so focused on food. So moving on from that, what is going to be our one action that listeners are going to take from this episode to move them towards their goal of becoming superhuman?
Real simple. Just continue to be super mindful of where you put your energy, to what people, what things, to what foods, to what toxins, to what topics. Think about your energy as this finite resource, and you only have a certain amount to give out. If you give it all out, you ain't got none left. So think about where you're doling it out and make sure that you are super generous to yourself so you can use it where you want it.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you found this super valuable. We'll be back same place, same time next week for another episode of the Health Made Simple show.
Yes, and thanks everyone for being here. Keep doing the thing, keep sharing it out, keep spreading love. And then, of course, continue to take deliberate action for your mind, your body, your overall wellness. Y'all be awesome.